Howdy everyone, and welcome back to Runt9 Plays Nova Drift. I definitely had to take a break after that last one. It was a lot of fun. But now I'm back. I had a nice lunch, got some tea, got a freshly cut lawn, and I'm ready to go. I thought we'd take a second to kind of take a look at where we are on the unlocks, and I'm thinking we're getting pretty close here. We've got one more challenge mode to unlock. We got 4 more pieces of gear. We've got all of the unlock mod trees, and we're working our way through the super mods right now. We're over halfway done. Looks like we got 8 more super mods to go, and then we got these 5 more unlocks up there. So looks like we're about 13 levels away from the quote-unquote level cap in Nova Drift, which is pretty exciting in my personal opinion. So one of the things I'm thinking about is turning on some challenge modes. Not necessarily because I think we're doing well, because needless to say, we're not. It's more that I think, you know, we're going for the score bonus, and it does also give you an experience bonus, and I think it could be interesting to start cranking some of these up. So we're going to start with Danger Zone. I've had enemy territory turned on just because it gets you into the action faster. You don't have those startup waves where it just takes forever to get to the interesting fights. And so I was thinking that, you know, let's just start turning some of these challenge modes on, seeing what we can and can't handle, and, you know, I think it could be a lot of fun. I think Nemesis could be an interesting way to kind of crank up the boss difficulty, even though it's not like we're not having issues with bosses, because we certainly still are. But, you know, like I said, add in a little bit extra challenge to the situation. All right, so let's do... I mean, I hate it, but at some point I need to learn how to build Torrent effectively. Because the thing is, Torrent does a large amount of damage. So as long as you are up close and personal. And like, I feel like siege weaponry is something that would go well with it. And you know, I want to continue to experiment with siege weaponry now that I'm learning just how good it can be. But just Torrent is a tough one for me. I think Helix is actually going to be pretty good for us, as close as we're going to need to get. Of these, you know, I'm tempted to grab Hullbreaker. You know, but the problem with Hullbreaker is, like, you have to build around Hullbreaker. You can't just go in and be like, I'm going to take Hullbreaker on something else. Mostly in this case because of the minus rate of fire. I think I'm going to re-roll this, and of these, honestly, give me Sentinel. We'll get a little bit tankier here. I think Improved Thrust is going to be a good one. Get us closer to the fray. Targeting is really good for Lattice, or Torrent. I mean, it looks like a Lattice. But also, let's just go with Deadly Wake. I think Deadly Wake can actually do some good work for us here. And then against this guy, I mean, he does die very quickly to Torrent. Like so. So what are we really looking for here? I mean, I think projectile size, damage, and projectile velocity are just what I assume is the best case scenario for Torrent. I don't know if Splinter works particularly well with Torrent, but it's one of those that I'm pretty much going to take Splinter on just about every build unless I have a specific reason not to. And it's just because Splinter is so incredibly useful that it's hard to warrant not taking it. Again, like, unless you have a specific reason not to, unless you're going like full construct run or something like that. And even then, like, unless you're planning on picking up the I don't use my weapon anymore, I think you still go for it with whatever weapon you got. So Blink and Volley are both really good here. I wonder how Charge Shot would work with this. Rancor. Oh yeah, that's right. That actually seems like a pretty fun one to mess with. But I think I'm actually going to take Blink here. I don't remember what my blink button is. It is shift, which works out perfectly fine for me. So we'll just try to get in here and kill these little worm dudes. The blink is pretty useful for maneuvering around, and especially since we need to be in close range. All right, I think projectile velocity is a no-brainer here. Snipe is pretty bad. Doubling down on shield cooldown is going to be a pretty big one for us here, I would say. And so, like, not forgetting that blink actually does do damage on its own. Using it to blink out of trouble, blink behind enemies. You know, it's a mod that I don't pick up very often at all, but probably should. Because it is actually really good. Alrighty. So Calibrate, obviously a good one here, but we fire so often, I don't know that Calibrate is actually good. More shield effect radius is going to be a good one for us here. Just try to stay out of trouble is the big thing. Now, like, much like with flak runs, you have this situation where you have to get up into the mix in order to do your damage. But once you get tankier, that becomes less of a concern from like a, you know, staying alive perspective. All right, so with this upgrade, I think going for payload just to bring this boss down a little quicker is a good idea. Adding blast radius onto Lattice actually seems like a really interesting thought. And then volatile shields is a solid one since, I mean, our shields are going to be breaking all the freaking time. So get in here and just try to really focus down these little sections. I'm not particularly scared in this case because I think that we do enough damage that as long as I don't bounce off something fierce, then we're going to be okay here. And so we're able to take this boss down nice and quickly. Early game, I feel like Lattice is super strong. It's just the range being as low as it is, and the, you know, the long-term damage scaling is what really concerns me about it. So I don't really care for any of these options here. You know, Energized Shields is kind of a decent concept, but again, the -7% rate of fire scares me. If we're gonna do some fun blast radius type stuff, polar inversion is always a neat idea. And so I think the blast radius idea might actually end up being a pretty fun thing to go for. You know, keep using blink effectively, or at least trying to. You know, again, it's not a mod that I have a lot of experience with, so I expect to continue doing pretty poor with it. Oops. Radiant Shields is a good one, but I don't think I want our shields to get worse is the only problem. Hull regen is always a solid one, and then adding the passive shield regen. Give me a reroll on this one. So Streamline, obviously a good idea with Tempest Break. I don't think Leaf on the Wind is going to be good for us here because we're going to be taking plenty of damage. Stabilization, getting up to the agility is going to be a pretty good one, I would say. So yeah, like being able to teleport to the other side of this worm to kind of get a better shot on him seems like it's a good idea. All right, we are taking a lot of damage here. I want to get out of here, please and thank you. He is a firing his laser. All right, the enemy swarm. I want to try to get out of here taking as little damage as possible which is difficult considering how fast and heavy these waves are coming in. I mean, we did turn on that new challenge mode, and so we're definitely getting the points for it, but it is also not easy. It's a lot of chaos. You don't have a lot of time to think. So I think rate of fire is just too good to pass up here. You gotta go for it, because it sends out more of the little projectiles, and ultimately that's what does damage. And just a raw rate of fire increase without lowering any other stats does mean that it's just a pure DPS increase. You don't have to worry about, well, it raises this but it lowers this. No, you just go for it. So I like high explosive here. It also unlocks rupture, which I want rupture as soon as possible. I also want the rotation speed, but I think we'll come back to it and just go ahead and get our blast radius up here. Projectile velocity, still wish it could be higher. Probably could have teleported to the other side of that guy. Blink is putting in some pretty decent work for us here, both as a weapon and as a utility. Like here, you just blink and, you know, you're leaving the trail in your wake as well. So going for the focus shields lowers the shield effect radius, but will make these orbs do more damage. And also gets us to weaponize shields. So let's go ahead and pick that up. You know, increasing our shields is going to be a good idea. Again, being tanky is going to help with the fact that we are constantly in melee here. So I'm not against doing siege weaponry here because of the fact that it does obviously scale incredibly well with this weapon. But of course, I have concerns about it not actually being as good as I would like it to be. And the reason why I say that, obviously we're taking Rupture here, is because of the fact that this boss is just a pain for any close range build. Now we are inside the effect radius of its spinny things, build to add. And so we can basically just burn it down here. Oh, that was close. We almost died there. Like, very much should have died. All right, against this guy, just get in there. We're taking a large amount of damage. I'm kind of like mind flooded right now. Need to move my water over. Sorry. All right, what are we really looking for here? You know, charge shot, I'm not against the concept, but I don't know that it's necessarily gonna work. Let's actually give discharge a try. You know, I haven't taken discharge yet, and I would like to see what it's like. Honestly, it seems like it actually does some pretty decent damage, and it does extend our range a little bit. We need to stop being dumb, though. And by stop being dumb, I mean we are taking a lot of really stupid damage. Our hull is incredibly weak at this point. Be willing to blink. Just keep going and circling around and try to get in here on the laser dudes. We got an upgrade here. We've got hidden power. So this is Plus global damage, max hull, shield, shield effect radius, power, and thrust, faster cooldown and regenerate, removes all weapon and construct mods from the weapon pool. Your weapon has no effect and you cannot create non-shield constructs. So, the reason why this exists is because we picked up Discharge. Discharge opens up the ability to use Discharge as our primary weapon. Scary. I don't want to do it on this run, but we will have to try that at some point in the future. I'm very curious as to what that ends up doing to a run. All right, we are dead. As soon as I saw where our hull was at, I was like, we're gonna die here. So that was a pretty bad run, not gonna lie. We are at the 15-minute mark, so we're gonna jump back in. We're gonna do just another regular run here. I can definitely see the added, you know, just no time to think of the that challenge mode we turned on. So I actually want to go split shot here because I haven't done a siege weaponry split shot run. At least I don't think so. And I'm pretty sure that siege weaponry with split shot would just be amazing. I would like to give that a try. And I also think that blast radius would be kind of fun to add little micro explosions to your split shot. I usually go with, you know, your volley and your projectile targeting and that kind of simple stuff. So with amp, I actually would like to do sentinel again. And then I want rate of fire. So give me a reroll. Let's start out with rate of fire and just start working on that immediately. That didn't go quite like I wanted it to. Just a bit of an oops. So let's just go right back into it. You know, we will re-roll until we get split shot. I want to do the same run again. Split shot. Amp, and preferably Sentinel. But I also would be very happy with Assault. So why do I like Split Shot so much? Well, it's that simple spray and pray. It just works. There's nothing wrong with Split Shot short of its damage scaling is not that great. Yeah, give me Sentinel. Reroll, give me rate of fire. And this time, let's not yeet ourselves. Just burn this guy down and don't die, forehead. Easy enough. So I want Warpath, obviously. And then I want Siege Weaponry basically as soon as possible. Give it to me. Yes, that works very well. In fact, it basically turns it into a laser rather than a gun. Not that lasers can't also be guns, but, you know, don't get bogged down in the details here. We are taking a lot of hull damage. Can we get out of this one, please? Can I have my shield back? All right, we need regen. Don't even have to stop to think about it. We gotta wait for some hull regen. And so basically, like with siege weaponry runs at this point, we pretty much know we need regen just immediately. It's a necessity. You kind of just have your run starts and ends with how quickly you can get your hull regen going. I had the power up, I went off the side of the screen and I screwed it up. But do it again. I know what I want to do here. I want to do a split shot siege weaponry run. So what did we learn? Don't take siege weaponry until you have the scaling regen. Give me split shot and send it. For shield, stop giving me amp, give me bastion, and give me assault, please. I do realize that assault is the one that I pretty much always like to have with split shot, but it's because it's so good, is the thing. Give me the rate of fire upgrade. So I know that we can do well here. We just have to make sure that we get a little bit tanky first. I think the whole regen is just incredibly important. So let's go ahead and grab that. You know what? Yeah, start me off with rapid reconstruction. And then we just want max hull stuff. Yep, max hull. Sounds good. Give me Juggernaut. And now I think that siege weaponry is absolutely in the books for us. I also wouldn't mind the Wild Metamorphosis mod that gives you more hull regen. Certainly would not be offended by that in the slightest. We also are going to want upgraded thrust at this point, since we went with Juggernaut. So there's Warpath. Don't even have to think about it at this point. I know what I'm going for. I know that as long as I don't be stupid, then this run should be successful. And so, you know, basically like with any roguelike, especially infinite roguelikes, it comes down to scaling. You know, you have to figure out, how am I going to scale into the late game? Siege weaponry scales really well. And that's why I feel like it's a good later game kind of thing. Not that there really is a late game, but that's also why I think constructs are so good, is you can continue scaling your own damage while your constructs are doing a lot for you. All right, I think Adrenal Module is also just really fantastic here. Give me a reroll, though. So there's Siege Weaponry. And I think that we may even consider going the Calibrate route as well. You know what? Send it, brother. A little bit of scaling hull damage. Never hurt nobody. I mean, it literally does hurt you, but, like, don't get caught up in the details. All right, we'll come back to that. Maybe I'll practice that one a little bit offline. I'm focusing too much on doing damage. It doesn't work nearly as well immediately without extra damage mods like increased projectile size and things like that. But it's after 20 minutes, which means it's time for a zany run. So let's see what our zany run is going to look like this time. So we will keep working, like I said, I will keep working on that split shot idea, because I think that there's a lot that can be done there. You know, I wouldn't mind doing a crash damage one, because it has been a minute since I've done one of those. And you know what? If you're going to give me pulse, then let's go for it. We are taking a lot of damage here, though. I need something that doesn't stink. Give me Warp and Hull Breaker easily. And probably increase shields. Give me Rate of Fire. Alright, it's a little spiced. Our shields are still down. Bravado, definitely a good one to have here, but I think max hull is going to be important going forward. And I mean, you can't underestimate that, like, the flak that comes off of Pulse is actually pretty decent as well. So Juggernaut, it's an easy choice here. And we're gonna want basically like a lot of thrust. And honestly, like, I'm fine getting rid of shields. Give me increased blast radius. Basically, I just want to get to the point where it doesn't hurt us that much to go slamming through enemies. Like, that still hurts us quite a bit. In fact, we're probably about to die. We're gonna need hull regen like nobody's freaking business, like usual, because I'm bad. And you should be used to that by now. I mean, you guys know me. You know that I'm not the greatest video game player in the world. Hull regen, please, and thank you. And yeah, go ahead and get rid of my shields, because I don't care. Slipstream, minus friction. But the Scorching Wake, though. Scorching Wake with a crash damage build just seems like a lot of fun. And so now we crash into things, we pulse when we're nearby, and we leave a burning trail of evil behind us. And definitely give me hyper metabolism, force armor, more crash goodies. And so, like, I know crash things aren't super zany, but because it's like a legit strat, but I don't do it very often on purpose because you really have to go all in on it. And I wanted to, I don't know, just take this opportunity to try out some stuff with crash damage that I maybe haven't tried before. Like going the Fireball Scorching Wake route. We're gonna want improved thrust. We're gonna want the kinetic one. I do not hate Slipstream, but I think High Explosive is gonna be better for our pulse. Those are mines, so crashing into them is maybe not the smartest idea in the world. So I'm trying to keep an eye on my hull while I'm crashing into these things, and it seems like we're okay because of the regen. I am also holding down my pulse button, so that seemed pretty decent. And being able to be good at crashing into enemies while using pulse is the interesting thing here, because what that actually does is it means that when you're crashing into enemies, you're right up next to them, and so you're in the double damage range for your pulse. Improved thrust, Adrenal Module, and another stack of Scorching Wake are all tempting, but I think you gotta go improved thrust here. See, that does work surprisingly well. And the other good thing about this is it makes it a little easier to dodge when you're focused so much on constantly moving, which you should be doing anyways. So Hidden Power, that's going to make our weapon have no effect, but it increases our global damage by 50%. The thing is, what have I been saying forever? If I see Revelation, I take Revelation. And I honestly would love to just get more Scorching Wake. That would actually make me super duper happy. Because I would gladly take another 3 levels of Scorching Wake. Also, Burst Fire works incredibly well with Pulse, if you aren't aware of that. This guy crashing into him actually doesn't seem to be that good for us. We need to regen. I'm gonna just focus on dodging for a second. We'll dance around him and do some pulse damage. And just try to not die for a second. I really do hate this enemy. Like, it is just a tank of an enemy. I'm glad we still have use of our weapon for this fight. Oh, crikey. And there's another one! Oh, jeez. I hate it. That's so much damage, dude. I hate it. Oh, my goodness. Oh, I hate those enemies so much. So rough. You know, we could definitely do another crash damage build at some point, but I think that's going to do it for this episode. So, not the greatest episode in the world, but you can't ask for every episode to be as good as the last one was. So, I'll be back here in just a minute with yet another one, but I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, let me know some feedback via likes, dislikes, and comments. You can also find me at Runt9Plays on Twitter, where you can tell me all about it. In addition, you can come check me out on stream, twitch.tv/Runt9Plays. I stream Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. But that's going to do it for me. Until the next episode, I'm Runt9, and I will see you later.